Please note, while that an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should attend in person. Okay, so first up on our agenda is to call the meeting to order and take a tally of all the commissioners that are here. Chairman Larry Cohen is not here this evening, so I'll be chairing. I am Bill Boyven, the vice chair. And Indra, Deb.
Yes.
Rob.
Present.
And Ed.
Present.
Okay, at the moment, Moffett is not here, but he intends to be at some point, I believe. And Sarah Walensky is not here this evening. All right, first item on our agenda is public comments. Is there anyone here in the room or online for something that is not on the agenda this evening? Let the record show there was no response. Item 3 on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have had minutes for September 14th. Do we have any comments or corrections to be made? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th, 2023?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? 4-0.
I was not here.
Okay, so you can still approve them.
Okay.
No, 4-0-0. Minutes of September 28th, I did not see them. Do we not have them?
We've not received them yet.
They're not in yet, okay. Next up is item 4A, request for certificate of compliance for 2 Terrace Hall Avenue. Deborah Goldberg, DEP number 122659. Is there someone here for that?
Interesting.
Maybe it's not. Can we proceed, or?
Yes. I mean, I can say a few things as an issue.
Somebody's raising their hand.
Just to let you guys know, the front door is locked.
What?
Yeah.
The front door.
No, the front door always is. You have to come in the side
Oh, I
door.
didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
no, the side door for the meetings after regular hours.
Some members and participants.
Thank you for that, though, just in case. Yeah.
Well, some of the commissioners and staff went out yesterday to take a look at 2 Terrace Hall and 24 Hart Street, because that's the next COC coming up, and it's the same applicants. So anyway, and I had seen this, I had done inspections on this property as it was going along. So everything is pretty much built as expected here. They have a nice, the driveway is sloping down away from the road. We've got a nice big trench. They did all the plantings that they were required to do behind the post and rail fence. They put in the post and rail fence. They have a reasonably substantial, no, am I getting the mixed up? 2 Terrace Hall has a very small yard. But I didn't have any issues with this one. The post and rail fence was put up about 20 feet from the wetland.
Okay. Did any of the commissioners have any comments on this request for certificate of compliance?
Do we have to request that they replace those one for one?
Those what? Sorry.
Replace what?
The trees that have, doesn't look like they.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get the two of them mixed up?
That's the wrong one.
Did I? Oh, yeah, I've gone on to Hart Street. I went too far.
Okay.
There were no trees to be replaced in this one. They all looked like they were in pretty good shape.
Okay. Yeah, I had no comments on it. It looked like it was built according to the plan and done well, so I have no issues with doing that. Was there any kind of a surety?
There was 3,500.
3,500.
And I have no issue with you returning the whole bond in that case for that
Okay.
one.
All right. All right, so given that everything looks to be in order, may I have a motion to approve the request for certificate of compliance for 2 Terrace Hall Avenue?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? That's 4-0-0. Can I have a motion to release the $3,500 surety for 2 Terrace Hall Avenue, DEP 122659?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? That is also 400. That motion is complete. Okay. Next up is request for certificate of compliance for 24 Hart Street. Deborah Goldberg, DEP 122660. Anyone here for that?
Well, again, it's the same applicant, so I'm guessing not.
Okay.
So we went and visited that one as well. It was also an order of conditions issued for, I should have said this for the other one, a tear down and a rebuild in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, no streams involved. They took down a few trees in the case of both of the properties, and they had to replace them. In this particular case, 2 of the replacement trees are definitely dead. So I think that those 2 should be replaced.
Okay.
So you might want to consider that when you're talking about returning the bond.
All right.
But in terms of everything else, I don't have any issues also with the way this turned out and with issuing the COC.
Okay. Any comments from the commissioners? I had none either. Ed, no? Okay. I had none either. Again, it looks like it was done to plan, and looks like a nice house. I agree with the 2 trees that needed to be replaced. Other than that, I did not see anything else. Oh, we also mentioned that the tags are still on the trees and that they might be suffocating them at some point.
Oh, was that on that one? Because
Yes, that was on that one, yeah.
when I emailed them to say about the trees, I'll mention that.
Yeah, just mention that.
Yep.
The ones that are there, they still have the tags on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let the record show Commissioner Kent Moffett has showed up at this time. We're on certificate of compliance for 24 Hart Street. And seeing no comments to the negative, may I have a motion to approve a certificate of compliance for 24 Hart Street, DEP 122660? All in favor? 500. May I have a, what was the surety on this one?
The surety was also 3,500. Do you want to keep a little bit for the trees, or do you just want to trust that they're going to go ahead and replace them? Do you want me to just hang on? Do you want us to maybe just hang on to the 3,500 until they've shown me they've replaced them? That's an option.
Yeah, that's an option, but that seems a bit extreme considering it's just replacing 2 trees.
Right, but they'll probably do it next week.
Probably do it next week.
Oh,
Think that's the
what
best
were
thing
you
to do?
gonna
Yeah, this is the time of year to do it. I mean, they don't
Right.
want to wait too much longer.
Okay,
so-
okay. So then, if we're not returning the surety, we do not need to vote on that, right?
Well, it's up to you.
We're doing.
I was just giving you an option.
Well, you could vote to release it pending the planting of the trees and then
Okay.
just give us the
The
authority.
authority to
to
Okay.
actually physically release it.
reduce,
So may I have a motion to release the $3,500 surety once the staff is convinced that the 2 replacement trees are in place?
Second.
All in favor? 500. That is approved. Okay, next up, we're 5 minutes early.
That's okay, it's not a hearing. Yeah, it's not a
Okay,
hearing.
so it's not important. Okay. So next up is
Not here.
No, he's here.
Okay.
Next up is item 5, request for determination of applicability for 80 Blanchard Road, John Garrett, to install electric vehicle chargers. Please come up. Take the chair over there. And for the record, state your name and who you are representing.
Yes, my name's John Garrett, I'm Vice President of Electrical Vehicle Services for Maverick Construction, here based in Boston.
Okay. Thank you. And you want to give us a brief summary of the project, please?
Basically, a brief summary of the project is we're planning on putting in a vehicle charging station at 80 Blanchard Road and doing approximately, I think, about 20 feet of trenching, putting in an equipment cabinet and the charger, and really very minimal disruption to the surface around there. So I don't think it's a very complex project. We've done a number of these in Burlington and throughout the Commonwealth, and they're pretty straightforward, frankly. Trenching is only going about 2 feet deep, and if required, we'd be happy to put in any mitigation that you might require. You know,
Okay. Great. Thank you.
no problem.
Any comments from the staff?
Well, just to tell you that, so I spoke to John and I had him do an ORDA because there were previous filings at these properties that showed that there was wetland that I'm just sort of circling there with my cursor in the back of the property, so that it looked like there was wetland maybe only 40 feet from the trenching. But we went out there yesterday and we didn't really see evidence of the wetland being that close. So that's a good thing. It means he's not going to, there's even less chance that he's going to detrimentally affect any wetland. And just to show anybody who wasn't there, they're putting in the chargers. Sorry, I should have made my cursor bigger. I'll do that in a minute. But they're putting it on this just to the side of the hedge there. And the trenching would then be, just correct me if I'm wrong, John, presumably kind of behind the curb and to the generator?
Exactly.
I don't really have any concerns about this being a disruptive or detrimental project.
Okay. Go to the commissioners. Ed?
Nothing more?
Rob?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Kent?
Nothing to add.
And Indra?
Nothing.
Some
A
discussion.
couple of comments. First of all, it said 50 feet of trenching, so I couldn't see on the plan where that was going to be. So 20 feet makes a lot more sense as you described it. So there's no vegetation, tree removals necessary or anything like that?
Not at all, no.
Okay. Kind of wondering why you're only putting in 2. Is it expandable in the future?
It is absolutely expandable up to 10 ports altogether.
Okay,
So
with the
we
same.
have that capacity to expand in the future.
Great, that's very good. The larger unit behind the shrubbery there, is that a power source or?
That is basically, we come off the power from the transformer, and this is it looks like a traffic control cabinet where it would have the circuit breakers and the disconnects and everything else in there. And it would be all pre-wired for the future ones if they decide to install some more chargers in the future. So that was all, it's all UL listed and labeled. And it's the typical cabinet that Eversource uses through, so far, over 600 installations we've done for them.
Okay. It just occurred to me that I neglected to officially open this by reading the required statement, so let me do that now.
Okay.
Notice is hereby giving that we will be holding a public hearing, a public meeting on this tonight, and the meeting will also be accessible via WebEx. At this meeting, the Conservation Commission will act upon a request for determination of applicability filed by John Garrett for the proposed installation of EV chargers within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 80 Blanchard Road in Burlington, and will thereafter issue a determination of applicability. The application is being heard pursuant to both the Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14. And a copy of this application is available at conservation@burlington.org. Okay, I was talking about the huge unit that's behind your little control box. Is that a generator or?
That's actually a transformer, existing transformer.
That great big thing is a transformer? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
From the utility.
all right. And the hedge is beautiful, by the way. That's an excellent hedge. So it'd be a nice privacy hedge on someone's property. Okay, so we have no other comments on this. There's no surety or anything like that. So may I have a motion to approve the request for determination of applicability?
Well, we haven't gone through I'm sorry, don't we usually go through the conditions first?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right, there's conditions. I'm way ahead of myself. Go for it.
But that's okay, because we're actually way ahead tonight, so
Yes, yes.
we have time. Shall I share is that okay?
Please, yes.
Okay. So Mr. Garrett provided a few different sets of plans. Oh, is that you?
Yes. Sorry.
You need to turn your sound off.
Computer aside.
Oh my God.
All right.
Sorry.
It's still on. Okay. The applicant proposed to install 2 electric charging stations. I had said, based on what you told me, I think involving 50 feet of trenching, but I think I'm just going to change that to more like 20.
How much, I'm sorry?
How many feet of trenching? I thought you had said in your application that it was going to be about 50, but you verbally said 20 just there.
It looks like 10, 20.
Make it 30?
Let's make it 30.
Okay. It's just for the description,
Yeah,
but I don't want to
that's fine.
entirely have it wrong. Of trenching for conduit, installing one electrical enclosure, charging, oh my God, and one charger and a new service off the existing pad mount transformer. The work was within the 100-foot buffer to wetlands. The Conservation Commission is going to find that the installation would not detrimentally affect the wetlands. The boundaries were delineated in the area for previous filings with the Commission. So this decision will be only for work as we described this evening and as described in the decision. All excavated soil should be disposed of in a legal manner. No tracking of sediments under public roadways shall be allowed, and in the event tracking does occur, sediments shall be swept from roadway daily. Water discharge during the trenching process shall be directed to a permeable surface. There should be no filling or grading of the property under this decision. No cutting of trees under this decision. Members of the Commission or their representatives may have the right to enter just to inspect the premises while this is happening, and a non-compliance shall be deemed a violation of the bylaw Article 14. You have some questions?
Okay.
Stockpiling condition there?
Do we have a stockpiling condition? We don't at the moment, but we can put some.
Sure.
Okay. We have all excavated soil should be disposed of in a legal manner. You want something, the standard stockpiling, no stockpiles shall be encircled, covered, all that. Okay. Are you okay with
So
that?
we just add a statement about the stockpile if there is one? Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
John? Aye.
Not a problem at all.
Okay, so you're all set with that, Mr. Garrett?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Now, we can have a vote on whether to, a motion to approve the request for the determination of applicability for 80 Blanchard Road to install EV chargers. Okay, second? Second. All in favor? That is 500. You are all set, sir.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. And I'd like to commend Ms. Coleman for her help as a layperson getting us through to this, for working through the minefield of getting the proper paperwork that we're not really that experienced in doing, working with conservation and planning. But her help was tremendous, and I just
Great.
want to commend her and thank her publicly for all her help on everything. I'm sure we were a pain
Thank you
in
for
her-
recognizing her.
Well, thank you. As you discovered, it was actually very simple. I told him it was simple, and then he wasn't sure.
I have to
It was.
talk slowly, I'm an electrician. Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good night. Let's go. Okay, we are, what, 5 minutes early?
Well, we could do, do we have any comments?
The next item is scheduled for 6:55, and it being a public hearing, we have to start on time.
Right.
So we cannot start early. So we'll do some of the stuff that's at the end of the agenda for 5 minutes. Will we have any planning board comments, or is it too early to bring that up? Will there be some for ANRAD at all?
There might be something for the ANRAD.
All right, then we'll,
For 80 Blanchard as well. They had a minor engineering change
They
with
did.
the planning board.
They have
Okay.
something.
okay.
I think maybe you need something.
Yeah, so we'll give them a copy of your decision on that. Yeah, that's it for planning board comments.
All right. Any subcommittee or staff reports and updates?
Just to let you guys know that the bylaw changes, the wetland bylaw changes that were voted on in town meeting have gone out to the AG for approval.
Okay.
So the Attorney General has to approve those before they become, has to approve general bylaws before they become enacted, basically, in town, and that usually takes up to 90 days.
Okay.
So they're not actually in place yet, the changes.
All right, but it's in the works.
Yep.
And speaking of bylaws, so I've drafted a new floodplain zoning bylaw, which is sort of a requirement of FEMA to incorporate certain changes into your bylaw. So DCR has actually worked with FEMA and developed a model floodplain zoning bylaw. So working with that model, I've come up with a new draft bylaw for floodplain zoning in Burlington and submitted it to town council this week for review and shooting for the January town meeting.
Okay.
So this is like step one of two steps. So about a year and a half from now, probably, it will need to be updated again, but only by changing dates. We will have new floodplain maps coming out. We have preliminary maps from FEMA, which are, they're sort of in the review stage at this point. They haven't had any public hearings or anything, but they will be doing that. They'll be advertising by the end of this year, and they're shooting for implementing the maps. I think there's a 6-month period that they have to go through or something, but they're probably looking for these maps to become official in spring of 2025. But so rather than wait and update the bylaw, including the new maps, I figured it would be easier to do all the changes in the bylaw now and then just switch the dates in 2025. The maps will probably be controversial. Once people get a look at the new floodplain maps, there's going to be a lot of properties in town that are impacted by the new maps. And rather than risk having the important changes to the bylaw itself be held up because of that, figuring just come forward with the new bylaw and then deal with the new maps a year from now. That's the plan anyway.
So this is a separate bylaw, it's not revising our wetlands bylaw?
Correct.
It's not wetlands, it's a zoning bylaw, so it's really, it's not something the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction over. It's really the Inspector of Buildings who enforces zoning. But since you deal with floodplain all the time, and we deal with floodplain all the time, we did the update.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I like the approach of getting it in place as early as we can. Good. Is there anything else under updates, staff reports, or other business?
I neglected to issue the emergency certification. Last time I had given you the update about the beaver dams at Rohannes Park and Sawmill Brook in general, which impacted Susan Ave in that area, and also up along.
So that's already been taken care of?
Dolores, yes. Presumably it has. The town engaged Eastern Middlesex Mosquito Control to do the dam breaching, and they told me they would tell me when they were doing it, and unfortunately I haven't heard from them. I think they have, so I'll have to issue a retroactive emergency certification once I find out the date that they actually did it. But I'm guessing it's been taken care of since, we haven't heard from people that they're still flooded, so presumably the water levels have begun to drop.
Okay. Unfortunate, but necessary.
And then there's upcoming meetings.
Upcoming meetings are October 26th, November 9th. My understanding is the chairman will be out for the next one as well, so I will be sitting in this seat.
Anybody else know any dates they're going to miss?
Hopefully not.
Okay. Which brings us to 6:55. All right. So now we can move ahead with our agenda. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. Oh, this one was already open last time, right?
It was.
Okay, so it's already been open. All right, so next up on the agenda is item number 6, a continued public hearing, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for 252 Fox Hill Road, town of Burlington. DEP number 122 pending. We have a DEP number on this yet?
Today,
did.
afternoon.
It's 692.
So DEP number 122692. and this property is also known as the Fox Hill School. I do want to point out tonight that this is a abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. That just means we are going to discuss the specific outlines of the wetland areas. We are going to take the experts that were hired by the school building committee, and they plotted out the properties to where they think the wetland lines are. And then our experts went out as well, together with the John's equivalent from Wilmington, because some of the properties in Wilmington, and discussed and agreed or altered some of the lines. That's all the topic is on the agenda tonight. We will not be talking about where the building is going to be located or what the building is going to look like. This is strictly for delineation of the wetlands. So I wanted to make that clear. All right, so if you would be so kind as to state your name and introduce yourselves.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Amy Ball, a senior associate with the Horsey Witten Group. With me this evening is Donna Danisco. She's the president of Danisco Design. They are the architects of record. She's here for moral support. And also, oh, can you not hear me?
Microphone right in. There you go.
Is that better?
Welcome to come up here if you'd like to be closer. Okay.
That better? Yeah, I tend to speak rather quickly and softly. So with me this evening is Donna Danisco. She is the president of Danisco Design. She is the architect of record. We're not discussing the school project as yet, but she's here for moral support. And also here is Dr. Eric Conti, who is the superintendent of schools, and as I understand, Steve Brown, who's in the audience, who is the owner's project manager for the project. So as you mentioned, we are here before the commission with an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. We, do you want to do this slide forward?
Forward, yep. How do I do that now? It's okay, I'll
I
figure
think
it
you can just,
out. Got it.
there you go. For context, the school is located in sort of the northeastern corner of Burlington along the Wilmington town line. It is currently a school property with a parking lot, 2 access driveways, and some playgrounds and some open grass areas. And the entire site is surrounded by wooded forest. So next. For context, the Mass DEP interpretation of the wetland resource areas along with the natural heritage areas, primarily here certified vernal pools and potential vernal pools, which are pink. And then on the right-hand side, we have a sketch from the field delineation done earlier this year that just sort of gives you a general context of where all of the resource areas are related to the school. We identified 4 different areas of bordering vegetative wetland, the largest of which is in the southeast corner. That is the one that also supports the certified vernal pool number 6569. And then there are 2 that are located just north and east of the school and the parking lot, and we refer to those as areas 2 and 3 respectively. And then area 4 is in the corner between the 2 access roads, which are Fox Hill Road and Westwood Road. Next. I think you can just use the up arrows and down arrows. This is good.
I might have to go back up.
You can go back up 1 if you want.
Yeah, it's just being slow.
This is just a color rendering of the resource areas on the plans. It's been compiled. The plans showed up in 3 different sheets. But again, areas 1, 2, 3, and 4 go counterclockwise, and I'll describe them that way. If you want to go to the next one. So Area 1, as I mentioned, is a forested swamp. It is the one that is located southeast of the school and is also the one that supports the BVW. We can zip through these pretty quickly. The pictures, I'm afraid, are all sort of leaf off because we did the delineation at the end of February, early March.
Go backwards.
You did.
Ready?
Is it
Oh,
down?
sorry.
There you go. One more. There's the certified vernal pool. Area 2 is the area directly behind the playgrounds. It's sort of a sloped wetland as opposed to a wide open flat one like we found in Area 1, where a portion of it comes up to the tree line and then retreats back into the area in the town of Wilmington. Next. Area 3 is the wetland area directly behind behind or north-ish of the parking lot. It also, in addition to being supported by a off-site stream and swamp area, it does also receive stormwater runoff from the parking lot. We found evidence of that. And then Area 4, as I mentioned, is located between the two access roads in the southwest corner. We met with as you described earlier, we met with the conservation staff, with Vice Chair Bovin, and Martha Simon from the school board committee, as well as the conservation agent from Wilmington, Cameron Lynch, as a group on Tuesday afternoon to review all of the wetland areas. For the most part, I believe that we were in consensus as to where the wetland boundary was on all of the areas, with the exception of the BVW Area 1, which is located just inside the tree line. You'll see here in the pictures, even though the on-site was Tuesday, October 10th, these are pictures from the first day of our field delineation with a light coating of snow and back in the end of February. The area that we had actually kind of struggled with a little bit when we were out there was this far corner that was between the trees, where we had some standing water and ice, but we didn't really have the soils to support a wetland determination at the time. I don't know that you can see them necessarily in the pictures very well, but there are two pink flags that we had placed in the field where we weren't sure what was going to happen. And then when we went back later in March, we found that the soils did not support the wetland boundary, and the vegetation was not grown in. However, yesterday or Tuesday when we were out, we did find that the plant community had been growing in. We've had a fairly wet summer. There was a lot of water in the field, and found that those two pink flags that we placed back in February are probably exactly where they needed to be. And so we've made that slight change to the boundary in that one corner. We will be getting the commission a revised set of plans. We've sent the information to the surveyor. They just need to replot them for you, and then we'll provide them to the commission. And I think that's the last slide. There you go. So I'll turn it back over to the commission for questions.
So that one change you mentioned was the only change that was made based on the on-site
Based
visit?
upon our on-site, yes.
Thank you. Do you have any comments from the staff?
Well, I would agree with everything Amy Ball said. So that area where the wetland delineation is going more out in the field, that's a wetland adjacent to the vernal pool. It's not part of the water part of the vernal pool. It's within the 100-foot upland area that it would have been an upland area that you normally protect, but we've pushed the wetland out further into the field a little. So, but that's not actually part of the
Vernal pool itself.
the breeding area of the vernal pool. It's more the upland habitat part of the 100-foot buffer zone or the 100-foot upland area of the vernal pool.
So in that particular area where the vernal pool is, there's two resource areas. There's the vernal pool, and there are bordering wetlands.
Right.
Correct.
And this changed the boundary of the bordering wetlands.
Right. The vernal pool itself is bordering vegetated wetlands, but there's bordering vegetated wetlands that extend beyond the water of the vernal
Okay.
pool.
And so by changing this boundary, you moved out the boundary from the bordering wetlands,
But not the-
did not the vernal pool boundary, which was further out anyway. So
Correct.
even though this changed, it does not affect the
One more.
limit of work, let's put it that way.
Right.
at all. Okay.
Yeah, you should be able to.
I zoom in here.
Okay. We have any comments? Ed?
Is there anything special that you have to do to the vernal pool as far as protection?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, during construction?
Yep.
cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay. I mean, we'll do the usual hay bales and all that stuff, and then set up a boundary of work area.
Go ahead.
Okay, Rob?
I guess not much, but I think it's good that, seeing that delineation with the snow on the ground, I think now that we got out there and were able to do it before everything went to seed and sort of dried up. So,
All right, the vegetative community in that area was pretty overwhelmingly wetland vegetation. so-
Was.
Okay? Indra?
John, you said that this vernal pool is upland and not breeding area?
Pardon?
Not the breeding area, this vernal pool?
Right, so, I mean, your definition of vernal pool in the wetland bylaw is the actual area of water, which is the breeding area, 100 feet beyond that, which is still part of your vernal pool. Some of that could be upland, some of it could be BVW. It doesn't really matter. It's 100 feet from the actual water is part of your vernal pool resource area. Part of that could be upland. And then there's a 100-foot buffer zone to that.
Correct.
But the 100 feet beyond the water can either be BVW or upland. It doesn't really matter. It's part of your resource area.
Okay, thank you.
That's an important resident spot for the animals that live there. They may spend the summer up there out of the water or overwinter there, places like that. Kent?
Nothing to add.
Okay. I'm going to ask a few questions that might be basic, but I just want to make sure that anybody that's listening or in the audience that isn't wetland educated might be able to understand how we come up with these lines and things of that nature. First of all, I'm impressed with the level of work that goes into this. These drawings are very detailed, and, inch by inch, you really have to go over that and put flags around each and every one of these boundaries. The whole project has been incredibly detailed, and kudos to the DONESCO and everybody else that's involved here. This was delineated in February and March.
Mm-hmm.
How can you tell what a wetland is before any plants are growing?
Well, there are 3 parameters to determining the boundary of a bordering vegetative wetland. They're the plants, there is the supporting hydrology, and then there are soils, which often reflect the supporting hydrology. Until fairly recently, you really just needed 2. Massachusetts is now putting more emphasis on soils as of the release of their recent BVW manual. But you're asking about the plants. Plants will exhibit, especially woody plants, will exhibit the same characteristics that are defining of a given plant all times a year. So when you look at a plant community in the winter, instead of looking at like leaves or berries, you're looking at the branch structure or the twigs or the buds that grow on them. And all of them have very unique characteristics that enable you to identify a plant in the wintertime just as easily as you can in the summer. It gets a little trickier, as we found in the field, which is typically a mowed condition, but with all of the rain and the precipitation we've had all this year, that portion of the field stayed a little wetter than usual, which meant that they weren't mowing it like a mowed lawn condition. And that allowed some of the herbaceous material, herbaceous plants to come up, and then that's what we saw on Tuesday.
So you raise a point that I wanted to question as well. You did this in February and March. Since then, we've had a ton of rain this year.
You have?
If you went out and did it now, would it be different because of all the rain that we had? Would it be more wet, a larger area?
Not particularly. You remember, you're still relying upon the plant community. You're relying upon the soils, and the soils reflect a long-term condition in the hydrology of the supporting hydrology of the wetland area. So most of the bordering vegetative wetlands at this site are groundwater supported. I did mention that Wetland 3 also gets a little bit of runoff from the parking lot, but so the reflection of the groundwater over a long period of time is going to show up in what you see in the soil profile. So these would be, muckier upper conditions and what they call the A horizon. And then below the A horizon, you will see a depleted matrix, often grays, or very light
Color of the
colors, the
soil.
colors of the soils. And of course, that also is reflected in the type of texture you have for the soil, too. Sandy soils will manifest a different, color profile than like a really clay or silty with fine particles in it.
Yes, I noticed the wetland scientist doing a boring, pulling it out and playing with it and
Yep.
feeling clayy, dry, or sandy, or whatever. A lot of it is by feel as well as color. And there are color charts and everything you use to compare and to help to identify the soils. You mentioned that plants are a tool for identifying wetlands. You listed in your background supporting material here each of the areas and all of the plants that were identified in that area. And each one had a classification of how it survives or doesn't survive in wetlands, or supports your classification of a
Correct.
wetland. Can you talk a little bit about what those 5 classifications are? Because I see some plants were facultative and some were upland and some were obligate.
Yes, correct.
In particular, I saw only one plant that was obligate in the entire list, meaning it only lives in a wetland, and yet that whole thing is still called a wetland.
Right. So when you think about plants and the classification of them, you have, as you mentioned, 5 different classifications, and it ranges from obligate to upland. So you have obligate, facultative wetland, and facultative. And those 3, if a plant is characterized as one of those 3, and this is done at like a regional level by the Army Corps, and it stretches from New England the whole way out to like Minnesota, that area, and a little further south from here. And then the 2 classifications that would designate a plant as an upland plant or a non-wetland plant would be the facultative upland and the straight-up upland plants. Again, until fairly recently, we used to have qualifiers of positive and negative, so you would have things like FAC-wet plus or FAC-wet minus or FAC-up minus. DEP has now done away with that and has brought it more into a line with what the federal government is doing for a delineation. So that, again, they're aligned better and you don't end up with 2 different boundaries based upon what you're seeing in the field. So a lot of the trees that you see in these areas tend to be, they can be wetland trees, but they're typically facultative. And then you find other species like shrubs and herbaceous material that can become more fac-wet or obligate. I can't remember which tree it was or which plant it was that was obligate, but those are the ones that are going to really grow deep in the water and can tolerate that. They can grow in slightly drier conditions. I think the general philosophy is that a wetland plant can grow in the uplands too, and so it's not 100% in one direction or 100% in the other. I think it's like 99 for the obligate and the upland, and I want to say in the order of like 33 to 66 for fac-wet and about just slightly 50-50 for the facultative species.
Okay. So how do you then decide where to draw the line?
Well, you need to determine the location where you're finding greater than 50% of the wetland plant community is in that facultative, fac-up, or fac-wet and obligate classification, and where the soils are demonstrating a long-term, hydrate condition, and you have a supporting hydrology to go along with it. And it's a lot of poking around with that auger and to determine where you are, looking at the plant community, and then sort of figuring out where that, I won't call it a sweet spot, but like where you feel like that boundary is. And then you can follow along based upon what you're seeing in the fields, and then you're constantly checking the soils to see what you see, if it's upland or wetland, and you make adjustments as you go along.
Great. Thank you. It's exactly what I wanted to get out, so that we can
Okay.
have somewhat of an understanding of how this is done, and there is a scientific process to it. Are there any floodplains involved on this property?
There are, we included the mapping with our application form. There's the 500-year flood that is surrounding the certified vernal pool area, like the 0.2% chance of flooding. I don't think it's in my,
And that number and that line is based on the current floodplains, not
I
the
believe it's based on the current
Okay, so that would
floodplains.
potentially be bigger and wetter and under the new rules coming up, you think, or?
Well, I didn't think to check before we came tonight, but I don't know whether your town is part of the preliminary floodplain maps yet?
Yeah, but John was just explaining that a while ago. Do you want to pull one up? What, is it on here?
I don't think it's in that, I'm sorry.
Do you want me to go back to, was it in?
It was in the application form,
let
it
me
would
pull
be
something up on your phone.
figure 4, I think.
Okay, while he's doing that, I just had one other question. And looking at some of your wetlands, like 2 and 3, it's not a complete wetland. You're only doing the boundary on, you're only showing the boundaries on the part facing the
the-
property. Did you map the whole thing, or only the part
We
that's
didn't map the
shown?
whole thing, in part because it turns out in the long run, part of that was in the town of Wilmington. I mentioned that we had the Wilmington agent with us just for sort of a consensus. We were going to file an ANRAD also in Wilmington because of that, and then it turned out that that was private property.
Okay.
And similarly on wetland 3, and I will fully agree that wetlands 2 and 3 are actually the same bordering vegetated wetland. They just don't connect up close to the site.
Okay.
Area 3 is also in Burlington, but I think like maybe one flag is actually on our property, and the rest of the flagging, it turns out, is also on some private property. So for the purposes of this ANRAD, we will not be seeking to have the commission approve flagging that was done not on the Fox Hill school
You could not
property.
just go on private property and do flagging without your
Yeah,
permission.
sometimes you don't really quite know where you are in the field.
Okay, but the parts that are not flagged have no effect whatsoever on this project that
Correct.
we're discussing tonight. All right. Okay, so that's all the questions that I have. Did you ever come up with anything on that, John?
Yeah, I don't see, actually, unfortunately, the school is actually on 3 different panels, it looks like, FEMA panels. So the school, the existing school itself is on panel 289, and there's no floodplain in the area of the school on 289. I can look at 290. I think it's 290.
Yeah, there's no flood zone currently, right?
We're not going to be closing this tonight. You want to put that as an item to address the next time, just discuss floodplains and how that might be present or not present on this property?
So, yeah, I don't see any on the new maps at all. There's no floodplain on the property.
On the new maps that will be coming in 2025?
Right, correct.
Okay. All right, so that's good. Okay.
This is the existing maps.
Right.
That's existing floodplains?
Yeah, so also, nowhere near.
Those brownish things are the floodplains?
Well, the
That's-
blue-ish is the 1%, and the brown is the 0.2%.
And the
That's like the
500-year.
500-year.
Okay.
The brown, and the blue is the 100-year. I can zoom that in a bit.
Thank you for looking that up.
And,
Thank you for looking that up.
okay. So none of them is really on the property of interest here. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any comments from the commissioners? Ed?
No, nothing to add.
Rob?
So BBW Area 1, that's sort of the outfield of the baseball, is that the one sort of close to the vernal pool?
Yes, that's the one that encloses the vernal pool.
Yeah, that's all, just sort of making sure
Okay.
the different, the labeling of the different areas that we have, which ones we're sort of
That
talking
one's in right field.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Okay, Indra? Kent? All right, I have nothing else either. This being a public hearing, we will not be closing it tonight. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to have any comments on this tonight? or online that would like to comment on this?
I'd just like to ask one question. Is this going to be posted? You can reference it on the website?
Everything that they already submitted is on the website now. We just got this,
This afternoon.
well, this afternoon. I can put this up as well, if you would like to see the color-coded. Sure.
Yeah, it'll be on the Conservation website. Actually, any public hearings that we have, the material is posted on the Conservation website before that particular meeting.
Will the PowerPoint go up, or will I just put in that slide?
Okay, so this will then be, does anybody else have anything they would like to say? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attendance, and thank you for giving us a brief lesson. We need to vote to continue this to the next meeting. We have a motion to continue this to the next meeting of October 26th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And we anticipate being able to close at that point?
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you think you'll need us there at that meeting?
I doubt it. She's just wondering whether they would need to be there. We don't have any questions.
No, and there was nothing that needed to be presented at the next meeting, that, we have no issues that were
Just need to
were
get
not
you the
closed.
updated plan.
But you can always, you can join like this, if we told you on the afternoon that.
Okay.
I need to
Sure,
you could pop in remotely for 5 minutes.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks.
The only reason we're not closing tonight is in case
Usually
there are
need
people who are
plans.
watching online who have questions, and then they can contact the office, and that will be included in the next meeting.
Oh, okay, good.
Or maybe you could have Jamie just be on standby or something.
Maybe, yeah, she lives closer.
Even just to be on.
Give you the green cards. I love them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is item number 7, a public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will be holding a public hearing tonight. The meeting will also be available virtually. The purpose of the public hearing is to take all information related to a notice of intent filed by GTH Homes LLC for the demolition of a dwelling and construction of a new dwelling at 29 Geddick Road in Burlington. The proposed work would be within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland and stream bank pursuant to the Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14, and riverfront area pursuant to the Burlington Bylaw Article 14. The commission will review all information relative to this application and thereafter may issue an order of conditions and a Burlington wetland permit, and all the information for this application may be viewed at the Conservation Commission website. Good evening.
Good evening.
Would you introduce yourselves for the record, please?
Okay, Stephen Dresser, for the record, Dresser Williamson Way. I'm civil engineer representing GRH Homes.
And Craig Hickox of GRH Homes.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Would you like to give a brief
Sure.
overview of what you're going to do?
GRH Homes has applied to demolish the house at 29 Geddick Road and construct a new single-family home. The activity will occur within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetland and within the riverfront area of a stream shown on the Burlington Regulatory Stream Map, and thus falls under the riverfront area of the local bylaw. The applicant has made effort to locate the proposed house away from the stream by bringing it to the minimum front setback, which is 25. We put it at 25 and a half, just to give them some wiggle room. The rear of the house will be 100 feet from the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland in the stream. From the riverbank as delineated by Norse Environmental. Furthermore, the proposed house has been designed in compliance with the stormwater management regulations. All stormwater from impervious surfaces is recharged for storms up to the 100-year storm, which is like 8.15 inches of rain. The volume is in there to hold that, as well as exfiltrate. There is currently no drainage mitigation on the site, so we're going to be able to reduce the runoff to the stream for large storms. I mean, it's such a small site, small storms don't really get there anyway. As a further note, we're going to keep, there's an existing tree line in the back that's a little bit more than 40 feet off of the riverbank. So we're going to, that will remain untouched, and we'll put up a post and rail fence and wattles and all that while we're constructed. So there'll be some permanent protection to that area within 40 feet. It's really where kind of the slope starts.
Yep.
Down to the thing. So, that is the area, it really is the area that protects a significant interest identified in your regulations. There are 7 trees on the site that are kind of scattered through the backyard that the applicant has requested to take down. 5 of them are really in the way of the drainage anyway, and the remaining 2 are in the back, and they're both pines, and really it's just kind of a safety issue. Pines tend to fall a little bit quicker than than maybe an oak or a maple might. So, and they kind of stand alone there, and there's just some current concern in the future that those large trees might fall and land on the house. So that's about it. Any questions? Be glad to answer them. Greg as well.
Okay, thank you. John?
So the commission did the site walk there yesterday. The wetland flags looked fine. As Mr. Dresser mentioned, the stream is on the regulatory streams map, so there's riverfront area under the bylaw, but not under the Wetlands Protection Act. So under the Wetlands Protection Act, there's 100-foot buffer zone to bank and to bordering vegetated wetlands, which are pretty close to the bank, but a little up gradient from the bank. And that's about it for the resource areas. So everything below the slope is somewhat wooded. In the yard, there were seven trees proposed to be cut. I think the commission had some questions about those. Other than that, the soils look really good. They did not encounter groundwater at all in their test pit, so infiltration should be fairly easy to do here. That's about it.
Okay. All right. Let's go the other way around. Kent, any comments?
Can you just elaborate on the trees, like what your concerns were?
Right, well, the commission was. So they're within the hay bale line, so they're in the, what's currently yard. There were 2 or 3 pines, which I don't think the commission has much concern about, even though they're pretty far back, they are pines, and I know new homeowners don't have much tolerance for large pine trees near their houses. There was a maple on the right-hand side with four trunks, and I think the commission maybe wasn't as concerned about those either. There was a maple on the left-hand lot line, or fairly close to the lot line. It's labeled as a 16-inch maple. That one looked like a pretty healthy tree, and it was seemingly in an area that could be spared. I don't remember if there were any other trees beyond that maple that anybody had any particular concerns about.
The 32-inch maple.
Pardon?
The 32-inch maple.
32-inch.
That was the biggest, healthiest tree on the site.
Yeah,
Just to
it
the
was.
left of what's shown is the infiltration chamber.
So any plan to replace?
Oh, yeah.
Back there, I think. It was definitely close to where the infiltration chamber is proposed. So I think
Right.
there was just a question, maybe, it was just a question. Maybe the
Okay.
chamber could be
It's-
built perpendicular?
I don't know, I was assuming the plan would
Yeah,
be,
that was the question that we had on site, looking at it.
I understand.
Those 2 maple trees are healthy. The smaller one, that's right on the property line, the lower branch may take that off, but the rest of it's still a beautiful shape, and
That's the one on the left.
That's the 32. This
Yeah.
is the 16 that just seemed far enough
One
away.
other thing, because I don't think we found, John mentioned we didn't find actual water, but I think there was modeling in there. I think the estimated seasonal high is there. So in order to get the capacity for the impervious area, we have to bring it up, so you have to grade it. So there's grading changes that would go around as well. So you'd be changing, so we need to bring some elevation in order to get a separation of groundwater from the infiltration.
How much of a
chamber.
grade change are you talking around the trees?
Right there, probably about 9 inches there, and you can tell me whether or not you think that will affect the tree down the road. I've always been told you can change the root system kind of by, even putting 4 inches around a tree.
Can I ask
Some
a
concern
follow-up
down
to
the
that? I thought the groundwater was at around 60 inches or so.
Is it?
So
Yeah,
wasn't
so 5 feet, so you got your 2-foot separation. I think it's a
And you still need
2.5 foot deep, and you need 6 inches over that.
Well, since we're discussing groundwater right now, can you go to the detail in the upper right of that drawing?
Oh, sorry.
shows the
I didn't have
infiltration
draw- this-
system?
I had just taken a chunk out for the, yeah, I'll open up the drawing. I had just put a little bit on for our site visits. Let me go back to it 1 second, and then I can zoom in.
You'd save the tree if you can, right?
Yeah.
That one. We'll make an effort to save the tree. We don't
Two
want,
trees, I
we don't
would-
want to
We
cut
can
that
invite
tree.
John out to investigate it with us. If we have to take it down, I can put another maple tree on the property to,
It still doesn't replace it, you know what I'm
I
saying?
know.
That big
32.
maple is...
believe me, I hate taking them
great.
down too. It's
Yeah.
just,
But we can put,
But if
What-
there's
what
any
details?
flexibility in locating that infiltration chamber, the trees on the right are all going to go, slide it
Yeah.
over, turn it 90 degrees, whatever, might save
Yeah.
you trees.
Oh, sorry. Somebody wanted the detail, oh, I didn't share.
Bill, what detail did you want to see?
In that same drawing that showed in the upper right is the infiltration chamber bed infiltration.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the left drawing there, to the left. Yeah, that one.
what's that?
Now, I don't know if you can see it there, but
Well, I'm concerned,
You
but
just
we
blow
might
up
be able
that
to
one.
slide it over.
yeah.
can you enlarge that one so we only see the
enlarge it-
drawing of
enlarge it
the
some
left
more?
drawing of those two? Okay, so what, the left. That,
This one,
yes.
even more.
What I'm reading there,
Yep.
it says groundwater at 114.6 and bottom of chamber at 117.1. There's only 2.5 inches between the groundwater and the bottom of the chamber.
Those are feet.
Right.
Oh, those are
117.1 feet, yeah.
That's different.
A 1 dash.
So that's 2.5 feet
6.
between the two of
I
them.
always think
Okay,
Spinal Tap. You see the movie?
never mind.
See the movie Spinal Tap, anybody?
All the way to
Okay, I thought that was awful close. All right, good.
But we'll, can you put that back on the screen and,
What
yeah,
what do you
where
want?
the plan view?
You Just zoom
slide
back out to
over.
the plan?
Yep.
Yep. Can do.
Just if we can move it over.
Yeah, I think we can slide that.
And maybe we can move it over, yeah.
Very, very, very much, yeah, we can slide that over and keep that tree.
Keep the larger one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be much appreciated.
Losing the 16-inch anyway.
Yeah, if you're going that way, yeah. Yeah, is that the quadruple? That was a little,
I think the
quadruple that
quadruple
John.
is this guy
Yeah, that was a
here.
little scary.
Plenty of room to play.
We'll call it the William Brown maple tree.
In fact,
Where you gonna put your glasses on, dude?
so let's go back to the commissioners. Okay, did you have anything else, Ken?
No, I think that's, and the other ones that are left, is it just like a safety thing? Because I did a drive-by, I didn't,
Well, yeah, the one of them's got 4 stems, and that typically can get rot down in the crotches and stuff, and the other 2 physically have to be removed
Yeah.
to do the work.
okay.
Indra?
Yes. So this is within 100 feet of riverfront. And you are taking how many trees down? 5? 6 now.
5 now.
5 now, right?
5
5 now.
5 now.
So do you have any plan to replace this? Because
We don't, no.
you know that we love to see the replacement.
When we clear the lot and we go to the agreed plans, I always put trees back. I mean, John can, and I think can contest. I just decide where I'm going to put a lot of trees on the property. I always do. I put evergreens on the side. I always try to create a privacy for both neighbors. And I like to be a good neighbor too and ask them what they like when we're putting it in. So there will be trees put back, but wait to clear the lot and then I come in and figure out what I
You
can
have
do.
enough space, so you know.
Yeah. Those trees there are just, they're just
Right.
So, you'd want them down if you were doing it.
You want to put some,
You want them to be native
you
New
want to put
England?
some maples behind the, up toward the tree line, toward the back? You okay with that?
I can put some maples.
There's a big buffer on the right-hand side of this already anyway. There's some big
Yeah, once those go down,
arborvitaes or something.
I can fit some in there maybe.
You could take those down.
So would you be willing to have,
Property. On the left side, you got a drainage trench there, so it's hard to put a,
Okay.
put a,
One
So you're looking on the right on the tree line?
no, in the back, on the tree line, you can throw a few maples up there.
Do that?
would you be willing to have a
Yeah.
condition that says you put in 5 native trees to replace the ones that come down, and then any other thing you want to do is up
That'd
to
be
you?
great.
Okay, great.
Just give us like
I have the list.
caliper
Oh, whatever.
height or,
We don't usually, just because we don't like to limit you too much to what's
Yeah.
available, you know what I
I
mean?
did it on Independence. You gave me like trees to buy.
But as long as they're native and you check. the
Native,
list,
right, it's on the list,
smaller.
yeah.
But, you know what I mean?
okay.
Because say it has to be 4 feet tall and whatever, and you can't find them.
Yeah.
Because Bob's house, I only have, what,
We'll say 5 natives, though.
Arborvitaes.
So,
About 25 native trees.
Sorry, what?
For Bob Richards' house in Wilmington,
125?
about 25.
Oh,
so you are using Caltech C100 infiltration system?
Yes.
Caltech. Any reason Caltech, not Stormtech?
Just availability. I don't know that Storm Tech makes a 12-inch one. We are dealing with, we're trying to get the driveway pitches into a stone trench and goes in, so we do have some elevation concerns.
I see.
So we're doing it with a 12-inch. Caltech, I don't know that Storm Tech makes a 12-inch. If they do, it's not modeled in the at least the model of HydroCAD that I have. But it's like it's an or equivalent thing. But there's,
I don't know, for some reason I have a
no,
preference
I have
to
no
Stormtech.
preference. So it's plastic, so,
Okay. All right.
they're all made of the same stuff, basically.
Driveway trench is also going to connect to that.
The driveway trench has a perforated pipe and goes back into that, yeah.
Good, that's
All right.
good.
This side, Rob?
Well, yeah, I think it's great that, well, at least if there's some healthy trees that aren't impacted by the building or the storm system, keep them, and then planting some other ones is great as well.
To move that over, Steve.
What's that?
Is that the drain easement? Is that a municipal drain that goes on the
Yes.
side?
yeah.
It looks like it's on both properties.
What's that?
The easement?
Drain easement appears.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Seriously,
exactly half, and right
Yeah.
up the middle on both.
But you know that the pipe is actually on your property? You've got it on, do you know that?
Yes.
It's within the easement, though.
Oh, yeah, no.
That it's on your side of the property line? I mean, that's how
We
it's
didn't
shown
build
on
it,
the plan.
but yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
can't
All right,
go near it anyway.
no.
Okay, Ed?
Can't add to it.
Okay.
Bill, I have 2 questions, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Just clarifications, because I didn't really understand them on the stormwater report. You said you're discarding 8 inches per hour on the, which I just didn't quite understand, on the 100-year storm. Does that mean that on a really large storm, it's just not able to hold very much? It's going to discard like a lot? Is that what that meant?
It's essentially the equivalent of like a perk rate, so it's how fast that exfiltration will occur. So depending on the type of soil that you have, whether it's sand, loamy sand, sandy loam,
Yep,
there's something called the Rawls rate
yep.
that assigns an exfiltration rate to that material, the subsurface material, not the top surface, but the underlying soils that actually take the exfiltration. Yep.
And then, how did you know that the soil is HSGA? Because I just didn't understand what FSI means.
It's
I hadn't come across that before.
what is it?
FSI, it says on, sorry. Yeah, I'll just show you.
Well, you look at
It's
you go to
here.
the soils map, and again, it's 2 different, but that,
It was on the test pit. I just didn't understand what the FSI meant, so I didn't know how you, I can see how C is sand. You're saying it's sand, so that's got a really high,
The C layer is a sand, but
Right.
the
What's A
hydrological,
and B?
SHG is hydrological soil group.
no, I know that.
Okay.
I'm saying what's FSI? It's what you
Fine
wrote.
sandy loam, FSL.
It's an L, fine sandy loam.
Oh,
Well, that
okay.
makes much more sense now.
And that's like,
Thank you. That's not an I.
sorry. I didn't know what
Okay,
you meant.
that's why it's got such a, that's why it's got an A.
I couldn't,
And almost all
It's fine
top and
sandy loam.
subsoil is fine sandy loam, like 98% of it is what you're going to find.
The I's and inches will be changed to L's and feet.
Hey, Eileen, I just had a question for you. In the pictures you sent, like, I did a drive-by of the property, but is there a reason why you got a picture of the concrete bridge in the back?
Just that it's, we were surprised that it was there. Why is it
Okay.
there, really?
A pretty
That was-
substantial slab with steel reinforcement.
You're not proposing to move it,
Looks like
right?
it's been there for a long
No.
That
time.
concrete bridge back there?
Historical commission. Take a picture, because I was standing on
Is it on our property?
we're willing to sell it to the town it's at a very fair price.
I'll just show you a picture. Sorry.
It's in the very
Show me a
back.
picture.
It's
Yeah,
cool looking.
I mean,
It's it's on your property?
Yeah.
I'm seeing it.
It was pretty good. It was
Things you see.
6 foot wide and
so this is it here, this concrete sort of thing.
See right there?
It's very, very
further
close
down
to the
with
outfall.
another, and then
Okay.
Tuppercup, he's down, there was another crossing across the stream. Who
No,
puts
we
there?
don't,
Just
we
let
don't
them-
intend on
You could drive
touching
a
it.
car
It goes from one side to the other?
It does, yeah.
It was probably farmland at one point, and some farmer put it down or something.
Maybe,
Yeah, it probably was.
A bridge to nothing now, right? Because there's like a
Yeah.
fence.
That's what it was.
Can you take it out?
Somebody was farming both sides.
we'll need to, I mean, at this point. That would disturb the bank more than,
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Disturb too much of the ground.
Yeah, you do more damage taking that out.
okay, anything else to discuss then? So there's really nothing that needs to be addressed for next week.
I'm going to revise the plan and move the chambers over.
Move the
but-
chamber, right, move the chamber and add that we're going to plant 5 trees, native trees.
Slide chambers.
Yeah, 5 native million.
Well, we'll put that one.
Yeah, we'll just put some kind of
Okay.
note on that.
So it being a public hearing, we're going to continue it for one more meeting. We should be able to,
I'll just note that there's nobody in the audience.
Zoom people?
I mean, nobody online, other than the people we...
okay.
Yeah, that's us.
So there is nobody to comment on it, thank you.
Correct.
So we will be able to close at the next meeting on the 28th. And can I have a motion to continue this hearing until the next meeting on October 28th?
It's actually the 26th, right?
26th, I'm sorry, 26th, yes, it is. All in favor?
Aye.
500.
Thank you very
gentlemen.
much.
Take care.
Thank you again for
Thank you.
your Good, thanks for bringing that up.
Actually going to get some.
Okay,
We might actually do it.
we've already covered the administrative parts of the meeting. Is there anything else we need to discuss tonight? If not, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Boom. Thank you very much.
Very nice.